Hello, America. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump today to meet with the FIFA World Cup committee. We're looking forward to that great competition in 2026. It will mostly be in Atlanta, Georgia. That will be the main hub of this international soccer competition, with satellite competitions happening in the Garden State of New Jersey and elsewhere throughout this fine country of ours. It's going to be one for the record books as we look forward to President Trump meeting with that task force. I'm Robert McNeely. Hope you had a wonderful weekend at 1:30 Eastern. We are watching so much coming from inside and outside of the Beltway. First and foremost, the First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance will be traveling to the Tar Heel state of North Carolina on Wednesday, November 19th to Camp Lejeune. And the First Lady and Second Lady to spend time with military members and their families to show appreciation for those who serve this holiday season. Mrs. Trump and Mrs. Vance will have several engagements throughout the day, including activities with students on the base incorporating their children's education initiatives. The last engagement will be formal and remarks that to a large gathering of service members and military families in the hangar of Marine Corps Station, New River. So we look forward to that as President Trump traveling back from West Palm Beach yesterday to Joint Base Andrews. We know that the Department of Homeland Security and federal agents on the ground in Charlotte, North Carolina, as part of a new leg of making America beautiful again and safe again, as Operation Dirtbag, highly successful in the Sunshine State of Florida, freely removing 150 child sex predators and illegal aliens from the ground in Florida. So much of the success happening throughout the country as we've seen a 16% decrease in homicides in Chicago, Illinois. But the price of living going up because of Brandon Johnson's policies. We'll dive into that on this show today. But we do have a press gaggle replay from Air Force One just yesterday by President Trump.
We had a great weekend. From an economic standpoint, our prices are coming down very substantially on groceries and things. They're already at a much lower level than they were with the last administration. And we worked on it this weekend, and you're going to see some of the items that were a little bit higher. They were lower than the last administration, but a little bit higher. We're going to have some little price reductions, and in some cases, some pretty good ones. They used the affordability word. The affordability is much, much better with this. And again, I go to Walmart and other companies, and in every case, it's about 25% that a meal, a Thanksgiving meal and surroundings are 25% lower than it was under the Biden administration. That's a big fact. And that comes from Walmart and others that do that. Okay? Any questions?
Any update on Venezuela, Mr. President? On Venezuela, update?
No update on Venezuela.
With the designation of that cartel associated with Maduro, does that mean that the U.S. government can target Maduro's assets or infrastructure inside Venezuela?
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
President of Venezuela? You said they want to talk. You said Venezuela wants to talk. What does that mean?
Venezuela would like to talk. What does it mean? You tell me. I don't know.
You want to talk to them?
I talk to anybody. I talk to you, right? I talk to anybody. We'll see what happens.
Green says her life could be at danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Trader Green. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay, what about you?
Are you negotiating with lawmakers on health care ahead of a vote next month?
We're negotiating with lawmakers, and I've had personal talks with some Democrats. I can't tell you who they are. I just don't want to do that. It's not fair to them. About paying large amounts of dollars back to the people. You know, this was my idea. It came up during that. You know, oftentimes under times of stress, like the shutdown, you come up with great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of before. The insurance companies are making a fortune. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a short period of time. They are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're not really putting it back, certainly not like they should. So when I see this, and when I've seen this over the last pretty short period of time, I said, why do we just pay this money directly to the people of our country and let them buy their own health insurance? And you know, I made that statement, and I made it a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good. And everybody has picked it up, including Democrats. And I am talking to some Democrats right now about doing that. People love it. We're going to take the money. Well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money. We're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked, so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac. They can go out and buy health insurance.
Is it time for Congress to move legislation that puts pressure on Russia and puts pressure on Putin?
Well, I hear they're doing that, and that's okay with me. They're passing legislation, or the Republicans are putting in legislation that very tough. It's sanctioning, et cetera, on any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned. We may add Iran to the formula, yeah.
Mr. President, Tucker Carlson recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson should play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward?
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide. The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us, and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
You yourself had dinner with Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago. What role should he play in the conservative movement?
Well, I didn't know he was coming, and he was with, as you know, somebody, Kanye. And Kanye asked if he could have dinner, and he brought Nick. I didn't know Nick at the time. And he did. He came, and along with a few other people. He brought a few people with him. Meeting people, talking to people, like for somebody like Tucker, that's what they do. People are controversial. Some are, some aren't. I'm not controversial, so I like it that way. Okay.
In Venezuela, are you discussing options with Congress? Are you going to Congress to discuss potential options?
We like to keep Congress involved. I mean, we're stopping drug dealers and drugs from coming into our country. And I actually told Marco and some of the people, our Secretary of State is doing a great job, by the way. I said, go to Congress and let them know we're not letting drugs come through Mexico. We're not letting them come through Venezuela, and let Congress know about it. We don't have to get their approval, but I think letting them know is good. The only thing I don't want them to do is leak information that's very important and confidential and may put our military at risk, or whoever is doing, CIA, military, etc. But I did say, I said, go and see Congress, see the representatives that we're supposed to be seeing, and be open about it. If they say, we don't want you to stop drugs from coming into the country, I don't think that would be good. Yes.
Are any other countries committed to helping the U.S. with Venezuela, or is all our action still?
Yeah, we have great support because it's all about drugs. Well, in Venezuela's case, it's about drugs, and it's also about thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that they've released into our country. And some are gang members from Tren de Aragua. Some are many are drug dealers. Some are murderers. So in the case of Venezuela, it's the prison population. Their almost entire prison population was released into the United States. You know what that means? Their prison population was released into the United States. And we're getting it out. We're doing an amazing job. We have a strong border now. We have everything. Our country's doing so well. But what the Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. And the single worst thing they did is allow 20 or 25 million people to pour into our country. People from prisons, drug dealers, mental institutions, bad people, gang members, to allow that to happen to the United States, totally unchecked and unvetted, should never be forgotten. What they've done to our country is a very big thing. But we are correcting it. We have strong borders now. We have a great economy. The prices are coming down. The Democrats like to use the word affordability, but their affordability was terrible. The problem with the Democrats, they lie. They do it so well. They talk about affordability, but I'm the one that's getting the prices down. As an example, they had the highest inflation in the history of our country. I have it down now to a normal level, and it's going down further. Thank you very much, everybody.
And President Trump there with questions last night from PBI, Palm Beach International, back to Joint Base Andrews in Washington, D.C. We have the chance to speak with our friend Bruce Lavelle, a longtime advisor to President Trump, back on Friday. And can replay that interview for you now as the White House releasing 60% of Americans, according to a new poll, are not happy with the Democrat government shutdown, provided over 43 days to you by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and no hips Hakeem Jeffries over in the House. No questions on that, surprisingly, from last night as President Trump to meet with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup coming up at 2 o'clock. So stick with us as you enjoy this exclusive interview with Mr. Bruce Lavelle. Welcome back to RSBN. Bruce Lavelle, you just had some time in Washington, D.C., sir. I believe it was for the Fostering the Future Act. And Melania Trump really focused on our dear First Lady, America's children, and how they can prosper in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, it was such a really great event yesterday. The president, of course, he had a speech after hers. The funny thing about it was once he took over, he goes, that's pretty good considering she speaks 5 languages.
Yes.
But yeah, the great energy in the room in terms of, I believe 90% of everyone in the room was from the foster care program or adopted. So
Wow.
It was a really dynamic energy in there. Not to mention the folks that were in there that have the, should I say, the latest, greatest technology on technology as it relates to, implementing a scorecard for each child from nutrition, education, job placement, et cetera. And so this initiative obviously is to get behind and modernize it because it's well overdue, and a lot of redundancies and, a lot of cut some of the red tape and, bureaucracy and put it more in a technical field and bring it to the 2025th century, 21st century.
Right.
It was really good. Met some great people too.
Oh, it's fantastic. Well, how are these public-private partnerships making a difference right now? Because you've been in business a long time, especially in the Atlanta, Georgia area, but you've also known President Trump for a long time. And as he was exiting the executive order that the First Lady penned her name to as well, since her office worked so hard on this, you had a couple of quick moments to catch up with the president. Would you mind sharing what was perhaps discussed? And also, as businessmen, you've both made a big difference in public life.
Well, it was kind of deja vu for me in a way, because originally when he announced in June 2015 down the escalators, I believe we were traveling to Georgia to do a rally in July of 15. And I remember specifically having a conversation about adoptions and foster care, et cetera. And we got on the abortion conversation, the pro-choice, the pro-life, et cetera. And of course, I was adopted. So I had a conversation. I said, we really need to take a closer look at, putting the message on fostering children and adoptions. He's like, yeah. I said, for every time someone uses the term, abortion or whatever, let's say foster care and adoption 10 times over. And so this is just the tip of the iceberg to come in terms of what's going to take place. So in terms of my interactions with him yesterday, first of all, he squeezed my hand really hard. So just for the viewers, he's got a tough grip. So I know all the fake news out there. He isn't well. His hand. I saw him up close. Everything. He's fine. And I tell you, for an 80-year-old gentleman, I tell you, it's pretty pretty strong. And it's always good to interact because we've all literally started the movement together. Me, Brother Dan Scavino, a handful of other warriors that have been through the storm of knocking out 17 candidates back in 16, very good ones at that, taking out the Clinton machine and going through the fake shutdowns and lockdowns and mail-in ballots and that fiasco. And here we are. And then not to mention trying to ruin his life financially as well as physically. So it was a pretty emotional connection. We're talking about children. We're talking about helping. I love the fact that I call this the great good news, and instead of the typical tariff, trade agreements that we talk about, as well as what's going on in Ukraine, Israel, the Middle East. So just to soften the blows and just okay, let's get back to this great work of philanthropy about these precious children. And that right there just, to me stole the day. And I could tell because he really loves children, obviously, and so it was the best time. But I'm actually anxious to see what's coming in the future as it relates to pushing this stronger in the States, as well as the conversations on adoption.
Yes, we look forward to that as well. And truly, at the end of the day, Bruce, for President Trump, for countless others in the movement like you, it's all about being a father. It's all about being a grandfather. It's all about serving your community. And it oddly reminds me of John Adams before he passed. He was known to be at times crass, but very committed to his principles, and said he would repent in heaven if the American people would turn from their foundational principles that they sacrificed their time, their treasure, their sacred honor towards, and for many of them, their blood, sweat, and tears, literally. And I think Mr. Adams, among our other founding fathers, perhaps smiling down in this golden era because of initiatives like this focused on truly making America great again. And I think that's it's the character and mark of a man to really look towards that. It's how do they treat the most vulnerable and the voiceless in society. So my question for you, too, as we turn to 2026 and a focus on the midterms, is it the domestic affordability argument that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been mentioning, or is it President Trump's focused on international affairs, ending 8 wars, 9 potentially with Russia and Ukraine? But I think all this together, does it not affect domestic policy when you have these great tariffs that are bringing back billions into the economy?
Yeah, I'm not sure where she's going with that. She's in the district above me here in Fulton. But I can tell you, you have to remember, we're unraveling 4 years of devastation and destruction. We're only 9 months into the administration. Gas is in $2, high $2.70, $2.50, $2.30. We are waiting on our, as I say, our cash on return. I use that in business, and the way the president does, on our tariff agreements that we put in place around the globe. And just basically really going out there and making good, sound business decisions. One of the big business decisions is okay, we are the leaders of the free world. And we are going to, as he did, this is one thing that people need to understand too. When there's constant chaos around the globe, it does affect consumer confidence. It does affect the overall growth. It stunts the growth of the GDP, obviously, which, by the way, on your show in the next quarter, watch the GDP growth. Watch. So, I think people are very anxious and very impatient. I think in terms of millions and millions of people that flooded the border, God knows who's here, and the weaponization that they use in the Justice Department against innocent people, et cetera. I think we've come a long way in 9 months, and I wish people would just calm down and stop being so impatient. And that goes for Marjorie Taylor Greene and many others out there. It's like, can we at least get out the gate?
Yes,
It's like, I wouldn't expect to fix this stuff overnight, and he knows that too. So,
and we're seeing that as well from the vice president, Mr. Vance, speaking on that over the course of a couple of interviews from last week, that look at what we inherited. I mean, this was an absolute disaster. And then Secretary Besson as well mentioning, as you have, Bruce, that in Q1, Q2, you could see the GDP just unleash and an economy that will be stronger than ever.
Yeah, I actually had some good conversation with Scott. He's actually from Myrtle Beach. I share some business partners that actually know him in the private sector. Very studious, very ethical businessman. That's what we inherited in the Treasury. I'll speak for him on that, because I have close friends that I've been doing business for 25, 30 years that know him, and they vouch for that. And that says a lot about a person. And I told him yesterday, I said, man, I appreciate you giving up everything, abstaining from your business, and then literally giving it all up just to come serve. So I thanked him. Actually, that's what I was talking to him about yesterday about that. And he laughed. He says, well, what good is all the great knowledge and the blessings if you can't come out and come serve the nation to help the nation? That's what he said, quote. So I like that. So yeah, it was a great day. And I think to Marjorie Taylor and many others, just calm down. We still have, like I said, to put, as the vice president's been saying, look, when I say this is a mess, it's beyond mess of a mess. And so stay tuned, watch the next quarter, watch the second quarter of next year. Once our money starts flowing back in and we start getting, as I call it, getting our mojo, and getting our momentum, and just really overall, getting peace around the globe. So all the world can just do business and can trade and just do business. So that's the ultimate goal.
Well, we have our popcorn ready, the seatbelts buckled. We are ready for 2026. And then comes on Wednesday this vote with the Epstein files and the documents that the House Speaker has now granted his blessing to, will allow to happen. Is this something that the Democrats will again show their cards and make a massive mistake? From what we've seen with these emails, apparently they knew about all this dating back years ago, but they were very quiet under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration, and dating back to, as President Trump said on True Social, why don't you ask Bill Clinton about this?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Well, I remember it's like in 15 and 16, it was the Russian hoax. It was he's a racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they have to figure out a spin, which they shut down the government. So this is another exercise trying to demoralize and to delegitimize the presidency. But here's the thing: Congress can vote all they want. If it kicks back over there, I have a lot of lawyers in the family, so I know enough to be dangerous. Is that no judge is going to unravel grand jury investigations. They're not going to do that. I don't care, liberal, left, right. That is like violation bar 101. you know.
Right.
So the dog and pony show. And that's why the speaker is just like, okay, here we go. But once it gets over to the judicial side and the judge's like, no, we're not going to turn over the records of all the investigations and all the conversations. And to President Trump's credit, a lot of innocent people get hurt.
Oh,
For
yes.
example, President Trump is the most photographed person that I know in my lifetime. I mean, I've photographed with people who end up going to prison. I'm like, I didn't know what they were. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of,
Right.
you don't really know. You can go. I remember I was laughing at my wife one time. So we go to parties. We were a lot younger in our marriage, but we always say, up 10 o'clock, time to go home. And we'd hear about that party, like the next couple of days at 2 or 3 a.m. So,
Yes.
he said that. So to the defense of like, well, Bruce and Sharon were there. So there's a lot of innocent people that can get injured in terms of just like, talking to Epstein or like, well, there's a photo of President Trump and Epstein. They're buddies. There's thousands of photos. There's photos of Kim Jong. So I guess in terms of that's where the president's going with that. The second thing is that all the victims that were victimized most that I know of that we know have come forward who filed complaints with the local DA's office. I don't know if there's anyone else out there that hadn't come forward. I'm sure there could be. So where you go from there, some of these people have been tried. The person that was behind this is dead. The person that was assisting that went to prison. And it's like, okay, what else? Any more victims coming forward? No. So, and real quick, just not to desensitize the heinous acts that happening to these young girls. It's totally appalling. But I think the dance and the pony show that the Democrats are trying to do does a disservice for the nation. And they, like many other common sense people, even Stephen Miller, many of these folks were saying, or Stephen Moore and all the rest were saying, gosh, you had 4 years now, so here we go again. So it's just unfortunate because all it does is resurrect more of these incidents that happened to these young girls that were trying to put it to rest. Now it's back up in the spotlight. Now it's brewing, and it's like, okay, here we go again. So that's the tragedy that I see, the unfortunate part of this whole deal.
And you had Catherine Clark talking about the Democrat whip wanting to create leverage in 43 days of a historic government shutdown. And to your point, Bruce, this face crime, as was written by George Orwell in 1984, that historic book, it was required reading for me back in high school. Yeah. I hope that they're still doing that for students. But you had John Wayne Gacy, who took pictures with First Lady Rosalind Carter before, during, and after her first ladyship, and getting within feet of then President Jimmy Carter. It's amazing to me. I implore people to go visit the Jimmy Carter Presidential Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, because two things you'll find: a situation like that where innocent people will come into contact with the dastardly, the evil, by way of photo. Also, they actually fought for election integrity and security and did so much in his private life and post-presidency, but it seems as if the Democrats are not very interested in that transparency anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And to just like the Diddy parties, I have friends that went back in the early 2000s, but like Denzel said, because I know Denzel, he says, well, we all know to leave because the devil's coming at 10 o'clock.
Right. Right.
and it's so true. Get out of there before midnight. That's anywhere you go in life,
That's so true. I remember my high school social studies teacher, he said, if there's anything I can leave with all of you before you graduate, everywhere is bad between midnight and 6. So
yeah.
I'm like, that's just kind of a good thing to keep in the back of the mind. And, that
Absolutely.
2-drink limit at a party, things like that, just common sense.
Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Bruce Lavelle, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your visit to the White House recently. We hope to see you again very soon here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
All right. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your time, sir.
All right, brother.
We are heading into the holiday season. Can you believe just roughly a few days away from Thanksgiving? And with all of that, it's a time for family, travel, togetherness, but the cold and flu might come around. We are in that season. So use code RSBN10, that's RSBN10 for allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. This online family pharmacy protecting you and what matters most with over 300 vital essential medications, including emergency medical kits that you can have right at home. And sometimes the big pharmacy does not have the medications like antibiotics, antivirals to Tamiflu, but also ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue. Having the right medications on hand means you, in fact, can enjoy that holiday season. And there is nothing worse than having a head cold on an airplane, especially as you descend into the airport with all of that pressure, or even worse, with the flu and COVID season accompanying the cold season. So there's no scrambling for last-minute doctors either. And with urgent cares that could be through the door, including other pharmacies and your doctor's offices, it's best to do everything online with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan the QR code there now. Code RSBN10. Don't let a cold ruin your holiday preparation. Skip the stress, stay healthy, enjoy the holidays and your family. There is so much to be thankful for as we get ready for Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, and Christmas, just days away from now. Also, thank you to Monetary Gold for wealth and security preservations. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide to see how you can diversify and tackle 2026 with RSBN4thegold.com. Call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently for life. With that handsome gentleman right on the front, number 45 and 47. It is truly the 777% secret that is in the markets today. The U.S. dollar has lost more than 40% of its purchasing power. We're coming off of 4 years of high-rated inflation under the auto pen. So this is not a coincidence. It's simply a consequence of bad federal policy. And Monetary Gold simply helping you to buy that next property or simply create that generational wealth for you and your family members. Gold and silver has 5,000 years of human history. When that paper money declines, it only goes up. And with every promise made by Washington steadily diluted the worth of your savings, it's worth looking into that diversification with gold and silver. The best in the business truly is Monetary Gold. For wealth, security, and preservation, visit RSBN4thegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate those IRA fees permanently. We don't want that to prevent you from these great assets. Lesson is simple. Those who act now will preserve what they have before the time runs out. 888-617-7994, RSBN4thegold.com. Also, with all of those assets and those diversifications in your savings, why not go to Kalshi.com/RSBN to trade and bet on the biggest questions facing American life today? Will Bitcoin hit 150,000 before March Madness 2026? And heck, before St. Patrick's Day, which is 4 months from today. Always fun for my Irish brethren to enjoy. Who will President Trump pardon this year? Will it be our friend Steve Bannon or Changpeng Zhao? Maybe Roger Ver? Maybe all three of them. We can answer those questions at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Hey, will my Chicago Bears win the NFC North? Did you watch that comeback victory over the Minnesota Vikings. It's sports, it's music, it's culture, it's politics. It's the American way of life. Why not trade and bet on it at Kalshi.com/RSBN? And as we thank Mr. Bruce Lavelle for an exclusive interview, we look forward to President Trump meeting with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup. We'll take you there right away when that happens. In the meantime, we'll break into some news that's happening around there and the big voice that is lending support to the end of Christian slaughter in Nigeria. It's Nicki Minaj. And she'll be speaking tomorrow outside of the United Nations. Meanwhile, Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago wants the United Nations to come in and investigate our own ICE agents and our Border Patrol and our federal team of Attorney General Pam Bondi and Kash Patel at FBI to Tom Homan as the border czar. Of course, Kristi Noem, who enjoyed the Merchants game, winning 39-38 against the United States Coast Guard Academy at Fenway Park over the weekend. Her great work to secure the streets throughout America, including recently in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Free Sunshine State of Florida. Talk about moving away from our own sovereignty, as Operation Midway Blitz has been hugely successful in bringing down homicides, carjackings, and violent crime throughout the city of Chicago. But I came across something this morning that I found rather interesting, because many people who voted on Tuesday were focused on the cost of living, cost of affordability of goods, and in their view of tariffs somehow making certain things expensive. This administration focusing on that over the course of the last week, with reducing tariffs on things like coffee and household goods that could bring some relief leading into that Q1 and Q2, as we look forward to seeing an even more robust economy after everything that President Trump and his cabinet had inherited from the auto pen. But again, that Tuesday election was crucial when it came to affordability. And David Dahlberg writing this, I thought very interesting, in regards to Chicago, Illinois, and homeowners experiencing a record 16.7% increase in median property tax bills, the largest jump in 30 years. This increase is disproportionately affecting individuals in predominantly black neighborhoods on the south and west sides of the city, where property assessments have surged and where the value in the loop has declined. For example, the median bill in West Garfield Park rose by 133%. Now, this is a citywide impact happening where the median property tax bill for a Chicago homeowner has increased by 16.7%, reaching an additional $4,457. Neighborhood-specific increases, to give you an example, in that West Garfield Park, the median increased by $2,000 or 133%. North Lawndale, the median bill increased by 99% or $1,900. In Inglewood, the median bill increased by 82.5% or $609. So these blue Democrats in these big cities claiming to want affordability, want to bring down costs, they're not doing that, at least in the short term. So hopefully with more pro-capitalist policies and choice, it can help bring that back to some sanity, as so many people have to live either near or in these big cities for their jobs. As we were awaiting President Trump to meet with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup, we have some news with the Peach State of Georgia. Friday night, someone hit all 5 numbers plus the gold mega ball number to win the 8th largest purse and prize in jackpot history, $983 million. I can't imagine the taxes on that, but that is a big winner in the Peach State. President Trump also ordering the Attorney General's office to reverse course and urging House Republicans to vote on the release of all remaining Jeffrey Epstein files. We'll watch that for Wednesday. It could be pushed up to tomorrow. We'll stay on that for you. As the Speaker Johnson announced last week, we will have a House vote on these emails, and see where the breadcrumbs leave. Now, an O.J. Simpson settlement also happening for the late actor and athlete's estate, accepting a nearly $58 million settlement a judge gave to Ron Goldman's father in a civil judgment. Again, Operation Charlotte's Web underway in Charlotte, North Carolina, resulting in 81 arrests over the course of 5 hours. It began on Friday afternoon. However, the agency's tactics have come under fire, mostly from those far-left blue Democrats like Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is urging the United Nations to come and investigate what's happened during Operation Midway Blitz, and a complete attack on our sovereignty as a nation. Perhaps he should be more concerned with Boko Haram in Nigeria that is continuing to kill Christians at a rate that's barbaric. And President Trump is very serious, announcing that he is committed to going in with guns blazing, to quote the president. If you look at Boko Haram, they control really the north of the country, where it's under Islamic Sharia law there in the continent of Africa, this being Nigeria. In the middle, it's a mix of Christians and Islamic terrorists. The bottom of the country are those who are mostly practicing Christianity. But make no mistake, Christians, the genocide happening there is outrageous, and everyone should be concerned about it. And voices like Nicki Minaj going to the United Nations in order to make her case and to use her celebrity star power to bring light to this darkness. You'd think that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops would also be joining President Trump in being upset about this, but instead they are criticizing the administration's deportation tactics and the removal of illegal aliens who broke the law. This should not be controversial. You came in here illegally, you broke the law. This administration is being more than generous, offering stipends to leave the country and then come back legally. And we here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you are illegal and watching this network, we happily recommend that as well. We want legal immigration here in this country. Immigrants, yes, have made this country great, doing it the legal way. Thank you to angelpaste.com for the miracle that is the original cream. I use the vitamin B cream every day, and especially now with the cold temperatures, you get the dryness as well in the forecast. And we've all had really a cold front recently, which not only brings a little bit of great soup season, but also some dry skin. So the original cream is fantastic for that. There's an orange option that is vitamin C. It's non-GMO, no chemicals, as well as a natural facial spray. So visit the miracle that is angelpaste.com today for countless products, Christian-owned. They are based in Spring, Texas, the Lone Star State, right off the Gulf of America. It's angelpaste.com. Thank you for your sponsorship on the right side of history as we await President Trump for the FIFA task force. Also, covepure.com/RSBN. As you can see there, it's a machine that's no larger than your coffee maker on your kitchen counter. It's the leader in reverse osmosis systems. Get $200 off right now. Drink pure, live pure. Do you remember Flint, Michigan, another failed project of Democrat leadership? The lead pipes, over 100 years old, that bled into the tap water. That could lead to brain cancer, to stomach and gastro issues, also liver and kidney damage. You don't want that. Also, there's fluoride in the water. Secretary Kennedy focusing on his entire legal career on clean air, clean water, common sense that both Republican and Democrats want. Clearwave technology is the secret behind covepure.com/RSBN and why they lead in this reverse osmosis department. $200 off right now. It's a great deal. Scan that QR code there. JAMA Pediatrics doing a study recently that children drinking from the tap, we know kids like to do that in the summertime, grab the hose, and it's like, stop doing that. I got little ones in my family who think it's hysterical, but if they do that on a regular basis, they can lose 2 or more points in their IQ, and we know what happened with the COVID learning loss. We know what Chicago Public Schools have done with, that's another story to get into in a moment, but with them rejecting students coming back to school all those years ago, they lost out on critical learning. We cannot let them lose any more based on drinking poison in the water. So this Clearwave technology removing 99.9% of the impurities from fluoride to pesticides, agricultural runoff, even including hormone blocking disruptors like birth control from the tap water. Covepure.com/RSBN. $200 off right now. Scan that QR code today. As it is about 2:15 on the East Coast, good afternoon, America. Unless you're all the way on that golden West Coast, still a very good morning to you as we await President Trump to meet with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup. And did you hear about this, Mr. Director? The Chicago Public Schools decided not to approve certain holidays for some of their teachers, using some of that COVID money that they received to go on lavish trips to Hawaii, to places around the world, including Dubai. And sadly, I have to say, I've lost some friends who work in the Chicago Public Schools who claim to sacrifice so much for the students, but they refuse to go back to work and were instructed during COVID, in case you forgot 5 years ago, to not post those vacation pictures when students were not allowed to access their teachers, were not allowed to access their classrooms. For those of you who do not know, the Chicago Public Schools, many of those students relying on that second or even first meal of the day coming from taxpayer-funded schools in the city. Many of their parents working 2 or 3 jobs in order to put them through school. Just an absolute shame to see what the Teachers Union has done to the great city of Chicago and the state of Illinois as a whole. It's really one of the worst entities out there, and now they are having to find a new way to monitor all that as they've spent millions in taxpayer money, federal taxpayer grants, to go and enjoy lavish vacations instead of actually doing their jobs. But that is perhaps for another time, and one of the many reasons why that great state is failing, because of a pension crisis that has led to skyrocketing property taxes, and other places around the country benefiting as a result of that, including this great portion of the country down here in the southeastern United States. President Trump taking to True Social as well over the last few hours with cut number 1, Mr. Producer. It's my great honor to endorse Emilio T. Gonzalez to be the next mayor of the beautiful city of Miami, Florida. Very successful businessman, civic leader, former CEO of the Miami International Airport, and former city manager and chief administrative officer of the city of Miami. Emilio has dedicated his life serving his community as the former director of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services and a brave United States Army veteran. Emilio strongly supports our incredible law enforcement, military, and veterans, and knows the wisdom and courage it takes to ensure law and order. As Miami's next mayor, he will work tirelessly to grow the economy, cut taxes and regulations, advance Made in the USA, unleash American energy dominance, keep our now very secure border secure, stop the migrant crime, and defend our always under siege Second Amendment. Emilio Gonzalez has my complete and total endorsement. Miami, the early voting is December 5th through December 7th, and Election Day, December 9th, so coming up in 3 weeks. Get out and vote for Emilio. He will never let you down. And while has Miami come through really a facelift in the last few years and truly is the headquarters of American soccer in so many ways, with new stadiums and new sights to see, definitely a beautiful town to visit. With cut number 2, Indiana Senate Republicans, President Trump taking to True Social to criticize that he is very disappointed in Indiana State Senate Republicans led by Rhino Senators Rod Bray and Greg Good for not wanting to redistrict their state, allowing the United States Congress to perhaps gain 2 more Republican seats. The Democrats have done redistricting for years, often illegally, and all other appropriate Republican states have done it. Because of these 2 politically correct gentlemen and a few others, they could be depriving Republicans of the majority in the House, a very big deal. Now, California is trying to pick up 5 seats, and no one is complaining about that. It's weak Republicans that cause our country such problems. It's why we have crazy policies and ideas that are so bad for America. Also, a friend of mine, Governor Mike Braun, perhaps is not working the way he should to get the necessary votes. Considering that Mike would not be governor without me, not even close, it's disappointing. Any Republican that votes against this important redistricting, potentially having an impact on America itself, should be primaried. So Indiana is a state with strong, smart, patriotic people. I can attest to that. They want us to make our country great again. They want our country to win. Senators Bray, Good, and others to be released to the public later this afternoon should do their job and do it now. And if not, let's get them out of office ASAP. And President Trump discussing even further the Epstein files with cut number 3, detailing that, as I said Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. It's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by the radical left. These lunatics, in order to deflect from the great successes of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein. And they're looking at various Democrat operatives from Bill Clinton to Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, and their relationships to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is what Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big. Now, our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America, a record, and the rebuilding of our military, securing our border, and deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used. We can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. So President Trump having a lot to say about the recent headlines in the news. As it's a gorgeous Monday, November 17th, in the Federal City, the sun shining upon 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue at 2:22 Eastern. We'll take you there live to President Trump hosting the White House Task Force on the FIFA World Cup. Looking forward to that good competition throughout our country with the host site of Atlanta, Georgia, next year. So much to happen in 2026. We are right here on the right side of history, on the front row for you. Let's take a quick commercial break for sponsors. Stick with us here. Don't change that dial. It's Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Where is Democrats' transparency on Epstein? The White House releasing an email regarding President Trump's statements on this. As we highlighted just moments ago, that House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from the Democrat hoax perpetuated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. Good afternoon. I'm Robert McNeely. We're always happy to be with you on this Monday afternoon. President Trump to meet with White House task force on the FIFA World Cup. We'll take you there live as it happens. Why have the Democrats shown the same transparency, and what are they hiding? Where's Bill Clinton in all this especially? Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Delegate Stacey Plaskett from the Virgin Islands solicited and was given $30,000 from the alleged child predator and convicted sex offender? Or the fact that Plaskett herself accepted maxed out donations from Epstein for her own campaign? Or the fact that the wife of the former Democrat governor of the United States Virgin Islands told Epstein we would have a friend in Stacey, quote unquote, if he made said donations? Or the fact that Plaskett was literally texting Epstein during a committee hearing? What say you, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries? One of your members was apparently friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that former President Bill Clinton traveled on the Lolita Express 26 times, including many times when he was president of the United States? So by default, it would have become Air Force One. Who knew about that in the government? Wasn't that a national security issue to have the president of the United States on Epstein's plane going down to his island? Or the fact that one of Epstein's victims wrote that she saw Bill Clinton on Epstein's island with two young women? Or the fact that Clinton's visit to the island was corroborated by one of his former top aides? So many questions, so many unanswered things that have happened in the past. Why aren't Democrats talking about the long relationship and storied friendship that Larry Summers, the ex-Harvard president and Clinton Treasury Secretary and prominent Democrat, had with Epstein, who described himself as Summers' quote-unquote wingman? Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Democrat so-called journalist Katie Couric had dinner at Epstein's residence after he was already a convicted sex offender who had served jail time? Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Reid Hoffman, the billionaire Democrat megadonor, visited Epstein's pedophilia island, attended a dinner with him, and even planned to stay at his New York mansion? Tick-tock, tick-tock goes the clock, waiting for answers. Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Democrat National Committee refused to return $32,000 in donations from Epstein? And why aren't the Democrats talking about the fact that Michael Wolff encouraged Jeffrey Epstein to blackmail then presidential candidate Donald Trump, insisting the convicted pedophile could generate a debt from him? It's time for Democrats to answer their long-standing ties to Epstein. Then we can get back to what matters for the American people. I'll thank you to an email from the White House. And I have to echo my own concerns with that, because there's always plenty of things to criticize parties over, major parties, especially inside and outside of the Beltway. But right now, the Democrats have no message. They are an amoeba that serves itself. And if they care so deeply about this issue, why were they quiet for so long? Why are so many of their big names in their party closely linked to the late convicted sex offender? It's deeply disturbing, and God willing, we'll find out the truth this week. Thank you to Tax Network USA. It's tnusa.com/RSBN. Settle the back taxes today. Protect yourself from the IRS. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-357-1415, 800-357-1415. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Again, 800-357-1415. These patriots here at Tax Network USA, many of them have worked for the IRS. They know the system. They know how to do all of this during and before, after tax season, because many of them expert accountants as well. So feel free to, regardless of what's taking place of your taxes, to have that safe space to go to and settle those back taxes today. tnusa.com/RSBN at 2:30 Eastern. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. The early Black Friday special, the Children's Bible Story Pillows, a 5-pack for under $30 at $29.98. mypillow.com/RSBN. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566. And remind your little loved ones how much the Lord is watching over them and cares for them on a daily basis. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, he does. And a great visual reminder for the little ones in your home that they can dream big in the loving arms of the Alpha and the Omega. We know how Jesus Christ himself changed Mike Lindell's life. We know Mike's story. We know how generous he is. We know that he's making all of these great products right here in America, in the great state of Minnesota. mypillow.com/RSBN. Over 2,000 different products to make your nights even more soothing with those great sheets, those great pillows, those great slippers. And then also get your morning started the right way with things like My Coffee as well. Just a fantastic fair trade option for you and yours at home. mypillow.com/RSBN. Save with code RSBN. He is the master marketer, as President Trump puts it. Thank you to Mike Lindell for sponsoring us here on the right side of history, as we are awaiting President Trump to meet with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup. And a big focus in the news has been the country of Nigeria and the Christian genocide taking place there. Many voices speaking out on that. President Trump, his administration, and also the rapper Nicki Minaj lending her voice to all of this. She will be presenting a case to the United Nations tomorrow. So we'll be watching all of that as we hope and pray that that will come to an end. This president alone ending 8 wars in 8 months, with number 9 at that cusp. Countless meetings now with Mr. Zelensky, the European Union, to NATO, and also Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia, back on August 15th during that Anchorage, Alaska Peace Summit, and a display of force by the American military off of Joint Base J-Bear, a wonderful facility that houses our Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, Marines, all 6 branches, but some spectacular sights to see above the skies of Anchorage, Alaska, and had the privilege of doing that when I covered the local city beat there. Very often you'd see those bombers way up ahead or those dogfights taking place off of the Cook Inlet. An extraordinary sight to see as this president is committed to making America safe again. And it starts with our military seeing recruitment numbers like we have not seen in years. And President Trump on November 9th at the Commanders-Lions game in Maryland, swearing in new officers to the United States military as the first commander-in-chief in a very long time to visit a regular season NFL game. So this president very committed to what is the downstream of culture, politics, but being involved at all different levels and adding to his resume play-by-play announcer alongside the legendary Kenny Albert on Fox News Sports for the National Football League, if you enjoy. As we're approaching that Thanksgiving holiday, and much to do there with feast, 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 and also perhaps some time with friends and family. We hope you have a wonderful one, along with some football in store over the course of the next week and a half. But President Trump also focused on this game of soccer getting more and more popular throughout the United States, and Atlanta, Georgia playing as the host city as it did 30 years prior for the Olympics in 1996. You could still see that golden torch right off of Midtown as you pass through the perimeter, and remnants of that with new stadiums being built and some to continually be used for what's going to be really a star-studded match throughout the entire world. As I have to say myself, ever since moving down to the Atlanta, Georgia area, I really have enjoyed a lot more of soccer and rugby that I did not necessarily enjoy as much in the past. Of course, football is, and baseball being America's pastimes, but some great sports. And President Trump, you have seen this trophy being lent to him in the Oval Office, sitting right there, actually has to be opened up with a golden key. So that gold really looks nice with all of the other golden items in the Oval Office, as President Trump, I believe, now has over 20 portraits from the basement of the White House and the archives adorning the walls of the Oval Office. And some Oval Office history for you. There's a lot of Italian decor, from the marble in the ceiling that has the seal of the President of the United States to Italian oak floors that were installed before the Eisenhower administration. And really now it's quite a treat, as President Trump did not necessarily design his own Oval Office as some presidents have the option in doing. Sometimes the entire carpet will cover the entire flooring of the Oval itself. Well, President Trump uses one of the rugs from the Reagan administration. It encompasses just shy of the entrance into the Oval from either the right side or the left side going through the president's personal secretary, and that portrait you might see out the window when they're doing the press gaggles of his mugshot from Fulton County, Georgia, which is just simply iconic to see that there in the White House. But there are scratches in the floor of what was the new oak at the time in the 1950s. I had a privilege of asking a dear friend of mine who was a special assistant to the president, who gave a tour. Most of the staff there also gives tours, whether it's Capitol Hill or in the White House, when you do visit with your family, perhaps over a course of a weekend or during a weekday, when there is a quieter moment in the West Wing, which is rare. But the scuff marks are actually from President Eisenhower himself. He was playing so much golf, and he had the steel cleats that were still legal. Many of those are banned now if you go to a golf course, because they really do scuff up the greens. And, of course, the greenskeepers just have to pay a little bit more attention to that during the aeration process. So all those scuff marks, literally living history from our 34th president, and the love of the game that really, since Dwight D. Eisenhower to present, every president has seemed to really love the game of golf. But I want to say the two best, at least the scratch golfers, the late Dwight D. Eisenhower and, of course, your 45th and 47th president of the United States. There's also official manuscripts in the Oval Office of the Lewis and Clark expedition. So, again, it's a workplace, but it's also a museum, and it's also a residence of the first family. And it's going to be even more spectacular with a blueprint of 9,000 square feet on the east wing of that golden ballroom. And right there, the main residence you see prior to the 20th century and the expansions of the east and west wing, beginning with Teddy Roosevelt in 1902. That right there, the original mansion, is roughly 5,500 square feet. So some White House history for you, as I'm somewhat obsessed with it. We wait for President Trump to meet with the White House task force on the FIFA World Cup. Some big items to watch with the increased tensions in the Caribbean. The USS Gerald Ford is still down there, and perhaps an engagement with Venezuela in the future. We'll watch all of that closely, as we've seen at least 19 now declassified drug boats being struck down by either United States Coast Guard or the United States military to stop the narco trafficking that has come from the Maduro regime to ports like Miami, Florida, and throughout the country. So it's not just building up that big, bold, beautiful wall that we've seen from California all the way down through the Texas border, but it's also those ports that were very, very important for the drug trade and stopping the fentanyl and the heroin and the things that have killed countless thousands of Americans, especially our young people. And I think that's changed our eyes and ears, our hearts and minds Since the COVID pandemic, and since people have been paying a little bit more attention, since President Trump, especially in the first term, really opened that cloak into what was happening inside and outside of our federal city. And that's not so much of being an addict. In some cases it is, but how many Americans, especially young people, have simply been poisoned? So have those conversations with your children. I mean, even if it's something as simple as Tylenol or over the counter, sometimes you can't trust where that pill has been or where it's come from, even if they're simply asking for that from a friend at school. Make sure they have that awareness and always err on the side of caution, as we've lost too many of our brightest and our best and the handsome and beautiful children in this country who have been lost to trafficking, whether it's the evils of the last administration and what Secretary Kennedy said, the Biden administration lost 300,000 children coming over the border. That's reason enough to want to secure the border and put a wall up. And again, for those in the Catholic Church, and as a practicing Catholic myself, how dare any church hierarchy criticize any of that when Tom Homan, a practicing Catholic himself, is what he's faced in his career and holding back tears. What children have been through in this process, American and international children, should make literally the goosebumps stand on the back of your neck. It does for me, as horrible things have happened to children and countless thousands being found by this administration in 9 months to bring them back into society. And God willing can heal from the crimes, people doing the unspeakable to them in that process. And I think too many of us realize now that countless Americans and those wanting to be Americans have suffered so much at the hands of traffickers. And that's why you have a military outlet to protect America there in the Caribbean. Secretary of State Marco Rubio being very clear about this, that if you threaten the American way of life and it's of our interests, then we will intervene. At the same time, this has been the administration that has stopped wars. It's peace through strength. It's the MAGA doctrine. It's something that every one of President Trump's living predecessors very much failed at, as we are awaiting this very important meeting on the FIFA White House Task Force on what's going to be a great competition next year that will bring the world together, in fact, over the great game of soccer. And as we celebrate the holidays, we're heading into that season, the Thanksgiving season, a very unique American holiday. And we hope you have a wonderful time with family and friends over the next few days. Don't let that cold ruin the holiday. There's family, there's travel, there's togetherness, especially if those little ones are running around. It seems like they can carry cold, flu, and COVID along with them at times. So when getting sick really slows things down, it's the online pharmacy known as allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN that can save the day with over 300 medications, including antivirals and antibiotics, to Tamiflu, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, amongst countless other life-saving drugs, and the right to try generics that are affordable. Not everyone carries these great life-saving medications, but allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN does. Scan that QR code there with no red tape, no bureaucracy, just a pharmaceutical note that a doctor reviews so that you can have access to these great medications. Having the right medications on hand, being prepared means you can act fast when someone starts feeling sick, not scrambling for the last minute doctors, not standing in line at the urgent care, but instead enjoying fall football on Turkey Day. This request is all you need. The U.S. doctor reviews it, ships it right to your door, and usually within a few days, it's the practical way to be ready this holiday season. Code RSBN10, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. If you like what you see here, we are your rally network, but since January, your go-to live desk. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. We also have check and money orders to be sent to the following address. And again, thank you very much for supporting us here against legacy media that's anti-American, that at times simply does not share the truth. We seek to bring you every speech, everything in real time, press conferences, so that you know what your government is doing left, right, and center. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. And that's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. And I always have a smile on my face seeing the wonderful videos and pictures from last year's campaign trail. It was historic, to say the least. And we are continuing to be right here for you as we gear up for the 2026 midterms. Can you believe it's right around the corner, as this meeting with the FIFA World Cup task force right around the corner as well. It's 2:45 on the East Coast. We'll take a quick commercials break for additional sponsors. You're on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
Hello, Daniel. Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome FIFA President Gianni Infantino, one of the greatest men of sport. He is an amazing man. He's done an incredible job with FIFA. Thank you. Congratulations on the job. I hear you're setting records for the World Cup. We'll talk about it, but setting records in ticket sales for the World Cup. And we love having you back at the White House, Johnny, and everybody that's with you. You guys have done fantastically. I also want to thank Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., wherever you may be. Where's J.D.? He's coming right over. Marco Rubio was doing a fantastic job, and Secretary Christine Noem was doing a fantastic job, as well as Representative Darren LaHood. Thank you all very much. Hi, Darren. This past summer, the United States hosted the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, and it was great. I actually went to a match, and it was amazing. That was a big success, too, wasn't it? It was sort of like a preview of what's to come. And now we're getting ready for an even bigger event next year, as we host the official 2026 FIFA World Cup. That's the big one. The World Cup tournament. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, even for our country, because frankly, this goes to countries, everybody wants it. I guess it's going all over the world. Do you know who's getting it The next time around, who's getting it? Has that been selected?
The next one will be Morocco, Spain, and Portugal.
That's good.
With 3 matches at the beginning in South America, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And the one after will be Saudi Arabia in 2034.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, we have the king coming, Crown Prince is coming tomorrow. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase the greatness of American world-class athletic competition as we celebrate our nation's 250th year. The World Cup will also be an incredibly significant economic opportunity for countless American workers and businesses. It's expected to drive more than $30 billion, Johnny. I don't know about that. That sounds like a lot of money.
No, that's true.
Are you sure?
100%.
How much does the country get out of that?
30 billion.
20%? No, do we get like a percentage of the gross or anything?
That's for negotiation.
That's right. Yeah. And it's going to create nearly 200,000 jobs for America. Since the creation of the White House FIFA Task Force earlier this year, Secretary Rubio's team at the State Department has worked tirelessly with the Department of Homeland Security to ensure that soccer fans from all around the world are properly vetted and able to come to the United States next summer easily. Before I took office, it would often take a year to get a travel visa, but because of the administration's hard work, now in more than 80% of the world, think of that, the wait time for a visa is 60 days or less. For those who intend to join us for the World Cup, I strongly encourage you to apply right away. And I want to thank FIFA Task Force and Secretary Rubio for the great job. Marco's doing a fantastic job in many ways, too. So I want to just thank you all for a great job. Marco, you're doing a great job. Beyond even this, we're also creating what we're calling the FIFA Prioritized Appointment Scheduling System. That's a hard one for most people to remember, but it's there nevertheless. And this will allow World Cup ticket holders with long wait times to opt with FIFA for a prioritized interview. And I've directed my administration to do everything within the power to make the 2026 World Cup an unprecedented success. I think it's going to be the greatest. And we are setting records on ticket sales. Nobody's ever really, and FIFA's never, you know, if you look at the numbers, nobody's ever seen anything like the kind of numbers we're doing. The early ticket sales are through the roof, and much of it is even sold out. So congratulations, Johnny. And I'd like to ask Johnny to say a few words. He's really done an incredible job. He's got unbelievable spirit and personality and talent and intelligence, I always like to say, because it's all a part of it. But the job you've done is based on what's happening, unprecedented. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you very much. I would like to start really by thanking you, Mr. President, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Noem, Andrew, your entire team for approving and making this very important announcement today. The FIFA Pass is being announced, the prioritized appointment scheduling system. That's the way people will remember it. So if you have a ticket for the World Cup, you can have a prioritized appointment to get your visa, because we said it the very first time we met, Mr. President, America welcomes the world. America will welcome the world here next year. We will have between 6 and 7 million tickets sold for the matches. We will have between 5 and 10 million people coming to America from all over the world to enjoy the World Cup. And with this FIFA Pass, we can make sure that those who buy a ticket that are legitimate football fans or soccer fans, they can come and attend the World Cup in the best conditions, starting from getting their visa and then coming, of course, in the country to enjoy. You mentioned the economic impact, the 30 billion, 200,000 jobs, and this is just for the World Cup, and we will build on that to make soccer even greater here. You are the #1 country in the world, the United States of America, Mr. President. You have to be the #1 country as well in the #1 sport. in the world. So we have to work for that, and we will do that, and the World Cup will be very, very significant in this respect. So big thank you to you, to the White House Task Force, to everyone involved, and we are celebrating next year not just the 250 years, but also the greatest and most inclusive World Cup ever. We'll have 6 billion people watching. We have the draw coming up on the 5th of December here at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. 1 billion people watching the draw to find out who plays whom and where. We have 32 teams already qualified. Before or by tomorrow night, we'll have 42 out of 48 qualified. So a quarter of the world will be here, and we are looking very much forward. So thanks for the support, thanks for the great work, and always happy to be here at home, if I can say that.
You are home. We are. This is a beautiful trophy right there.
Yeah.
You are. And a big part of it, too. Marco, would you say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, for getting the games, because this happened in your first term when the Cup came here, and it's a major undertaking. So we've deployed over 400 additional consular officers around the world to deal with that, in some cases doubling the size of the consular presence in our embassies in certain countries. And the good news now is that about 80% of the world you can get an appointment within 60 days. It used to take, half a year or longer, and now sometimes it took, now you can get it in less than 2 months, where in places it took over a year. In places, for example, like Brazil and Argentina, it took over a year to get an appointment. Now you can get it in less than 2 months. So our advice to everybody is, if you have a ticket for any of the games, you need to apply if you haven't done so as soon as possible. Don't wait till the last minute. Your ticket is not a visa. It doesn't guarantee admission to the U.S. It guarantees you an expedited appointment. You're still going to go through the same vetting. We're going to do the same vetting as anybody else would get. The only difference here is we're moving them up in the queue. We're moving them up faster. But my advice to everyone that's watching around the world is, if you intend to come to the games, you have to have a ticket. You need to apply. Apply as soon as possible. You're going to get your interview within 6 to 8 weeks, and move forward from there. Don't wait till the last minute to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Congressman, would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, Mr. President, none of this would have happened without your leadership securing this during your first term. I tell my colleagues all the time, this will be the largest sporting event in the history of the world. We expand from 32 to 48 teams for the first time ever. We're doing it with Mexico and Canada, but obviously the 11 host cities will be here in the United States, and it's going to have a $30 billion impact economically in this country. And so it has been a team effort by everybody, but I also want to thank President Infantino and obviously you, Mr. President, and your entire team, Andrew and Nick and everybody. It is going to be an unbelievable sporting event next summer.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Andrew, would you like to say something?
Sure. I think
we'll have somebody much more important.
much more important. And honestly, without her work, without Secretary of State Rubio's work in the State Department, this would not happen. And without your leadership and your vision, this would not have happened. I think 2 key points. One that the Secretary of State already highlighted. This is a welcoming message to the world without going around the safety and security procedures. It's so key to make sure that this World Cup is safe and secure, and the White House Task Force is working every day to make sure that's the case. And also, as Congressman LaHood said, the economic benefits for American businesses, both small and large, from a $30 billion event like this. So really, thanks to all the White House Task Force members, from Secretary Rubio to Secretary Noem. 2 notice of funding opportunities that went out to the cities and states last month were really key from the safety and security perspective. To Deputy Chief of Staff Luna, who is integral in this whole process, to the White House Task Force members that are standing in the back of the room today and that couldn't be here. Without your hard work, this would not have happened, and I really can't thank you enough for really the best team I've ever been a part of. And also to FIFA, to the President Gianni Infantino, my good friend Carlos Cordiero. Your desire to make this World Cup the best yet, it's contagious. Every single day I come in and think, what can we do to make this even better? And Mr. President, your vision more than anything. I think it takes a unique visionary to be able to go and see a sporting event and realize that this can be one of the greatest cultural events in world history. And I think there are very few people, aside from the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that can do that undertaking. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Christy?
Well, Mr. President, thank you for Andrew. Thank you for making him the head of our FIFA task force. He's fantastic. And Nick has been a rock star in facilitating all of our meetings, getting everybody together, and making sure that we're prepared to host this event. And it's going to be the world's largest sporting event ever hosted, and it's happening under your leadership. So every department has been working, but the Department of Homeland Security is working on making sure people can travel here safely. They know that they're welcome to the United States, that each of these events will be cooperative events with our cities to make sure that security needs are met. We put out over $600 million worth of grants to the 11 host cities that they'll have the advantage to partner on technologies and screening technologies, drone technology, counter UAS as well will be implemented. So we'll be prepared to host it safely, but also with Marco's leadership at the State Department, making sure that people that come in on these tourist visas are coming in thoroughly vetted, just like anyone who would travel here, and they would come and enjoy our country, and then they would go home and go home in a timely manner. So we're excited about that, and we're excited to partner with you, Mr. President, on creating memories for people around the world that will make them not just fall in love with the United States, but also fall in love with the sport of soccer.
Well, thank you. How many games are there, Johnny, total?
Total 104 games, meaning 104 Super Bowls in 1 month. This is the magnitude of the event.
When you think,
It is. It's incredible.
it's going to be the biggest sporting event we've ever had. It's like having 104, or even if you cut it in half, 50, 60 Super Bowls, right? That's okay, too. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, can you just take us through this FIFA Pass idea that you guys are talking about here? How exactly is it going to work for ticket holders to this big event that the United States is hosting?
I'll let my guys do that because they can do it much better. And either one of you two, Nick, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, without your leadership, this would not happen. And we came in 10 months. We have a system that's going to welcome the world. The greatest host in the history of the world is going to host the world here. Basically, this system allows folks with a FIFA ticket purchased through FIFA to go through the FIFA portal that is then going to get prioritized with the State Department, so that those appointments are going to be had before existing appointments, so that people, when they buy tickets, they have confidence that they're going to be able to come to the games and spend their money and travel this country and do all the things that they want to do and enjoy the game. So it's an incredible vision that the President executed here. Within 10 months, we started with really not that much. And so this whole team here, with the President's guidance, has made this possible. It's going to be the greatest games in the history of the world.
Okay, do you have that?
Yes,
Yes. Not too complicated. Daniel, please. Daniel?
Mr. President, you're talking about the economic impact of this. Billions and billions of dollars. This builds on the framework and the groundwork that you've built already up for a major year in 2026. Deregulation, energy independence, tax cuts, historic amounts of private sector investments. What do you envision for the 2026 economy when this event comes to town next year, too, on top of everything else?
Yeah, it's just a huge economic boon to this. You know, we had a little shutdown that was caused by the Democrats, and this will make up for it many times over, so that's good. But I think it's the importance of the event all over the world. The world is watching, and it really is. It's like having, you know, many Super Bowls, actually. Each game is almost a Super Bowl. Some of them are, I guess you could say, bigger than Super Bowls. I guess when you get to the finals, it's of that level or more. Much more. Worldwide, I think it's got to be more. So that's great. You know, when Johnny and I made the deal, I never thought I was going to be president because I was supposed to be retired by that time. And I got a little lucky. So I'm very honored to have it. And we have the Olympics coming, too. That'll be great. And the 250 is going to be right out on the lawn. You're going to have a UFC event with Dana White and his people. He's going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled. I was talking to Dana White the other day, and they're going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled, Johnny. So you'll be sitting up there with me, Darren. We'll be watching it right opposite the front door of the White House. That's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But this is something very, very special. World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yep.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Is there what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp, and I said, I don't want to hear that.
You suggested you've made a decision about what you want to do next about Venezuela. I understand you don't want to tip your hand, but is there anything you're ready to rule out at this point? Are you ruling out U.S. troops on the ground?
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela. They dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country from prisons. Nobody knows better than this young lady right here. She's done an incredible job with Tom Homan and all of your people. It's amazing. You know, we have a tight border right now. Nobody comes in. But we had millions of people pouring through. A year ago, we had millions of people pouring through our border. And many of them came from Venezuela, including Tren de Aragua, the gang. And I guess what I'm hearing, Christy, is that's as bad a gang as there is anywhere in the world.
It's the worst. Absolutely,
is that actually
absolutely, they are the worst.
I mean, they're worse than MS-13.
They're killers. They massacre people. They cut them up into pieces and they bury them in their communities where they grew up. They're horrible people.
And we had a lot of them, and many of them, most of them, pretty soon, most of them are going to be out. But they sent them in like we're a dumping ground. So I'm not in love with the people running Venezuela. I love Venezuela. I love the people of Venezuela. But what they've done to this country, and I really say this, what Biden and the Democrats have done to this country can never, ever be forgotten.
You suggested Maduro wants to talk. Are you prepared to speak with him directly? Would you commit to doing that before you order strikes?
Yeah, I probably would talk to him. Yeah, I talk to everybody.
Mr. President,
go ahead.
follow-up on Garrett. Was that what you were referring to? Was that India?
Rebecca Zuckel with Blaze News. So in a recent interview, you had made some remarks about H-1B visas. You said about H-1B visas.
Yeah.
You said that there were certain talents that Americans needed to outsource to foreign workers. Could you clarify?
Until they learn that, yeah. Like, for instance, if you're going to be making chips, we don't make chips too much here anymore, but we are going to be in a period of a year. We're going to have a big portion of the chip market. But we have to train our people how to make chips because we didn't do it. We used to do it, and then foolishly we lost that business to Taiwan. Very, very foolishly, because if they had a president that thought like I did, they would not have let that happen. But it's all coming back. I think we're going to have within a few years, we're going, and not because of the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act was a disaster for this country. We gave away billions of dollars to other countries and other locations and companies, and all they did was rob our money. But because of tariffs, the chips are coming back. Chip makers are all coming back. And I think within a very short period of time, we're going to have maybe even the majority of the chip making in the world will be right in the United States, where it should have been all along. But because we had people that didn't believe in tariffs, they believed in them, but they didn't know how to use them, we would have had nobody leading our country right now. And instead, you have almost 100% of the chips are made in Taiwan. It's so disgraceful. The good news is it's all coming back. Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
the gentleman in the back.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to just follow up on Venezuela. In these talks with Maduro, is there anything that he could say or do that would allow you to feel like he could stay with your support? Is there anything that he could say that you would be, okay, you can stay?
It's hard to say that. You know, the question's a little bit tricky. I don't think it was meant to be tricky. It's just that, look, he's done tremendous damage to our country, primarily because of drugs, but really because we have that problem with other countries too. But more than any other country, the release of prisoners into our country has been a disaster. He's emptied his jails. Others have done that also. He has not been good to the United States. So we'll see what happens. At a certain period of time, I'll be talking to him.
Mr. President, can I just follow up? You mentioned your voice and you were shouting about trade. Which country in particular upset you? Was it India?
No, a country wanted to try and renegotiate the terms of their trade deal, and I wasn't happy about it.
Well, which country was it? People want to know.
Why would I say that to you? I can't believe it.
Mr. President, on the World Cup, if you would, Seattle and the World Cup. The new mayor-elect of Seattle is a Democratic Socialist. Seattle has
or beyond. I watched her.
Right, Seattle has
that's more than socialism.
Right, Seattle has 6 World Cup games. How close are you going to be watching that city with the crime in that city?
Well, if we think, and I'll have to speak to Johnny about this, but if we think that the mayor of L.A. is incompetent, everybody knows that. You know that I was there, I guess, 2 years ago, and we got all the federal permits taken care of, far more complex than the state permits and the city permits. And Lee Zeldin, who's a superstar, got everything taken care of. The toughest part, having to do with the fires, that should have never happened. If they let the water come in, it wouldn't have happened, right? Do you know that people aren't building their houses yet? I mean, can you imagine that? And if we didn't go in early on, Christy, I think we can say it. Well, the head of their police department said it. They were unable to handle. You would have had, not only did you have the fires, but you would have had total insurrection in Los Angeles. And if we didn't go in, and the head of, the gentleman, he said it, and he said it strongly, he said we could not have done it without the federal government. We did a great job. If we think there's going to be a sign of any trouble, I would ask Johnny to move that to a different city. We have a lot of cities that would love to have it number one, and we'll do it very safely. So if we think there's a problem in Seattle where you have a very, very liberal/communist mayor, I would say, it's certainly beyond just liberal. I watched her over the weekend. Wow, that's another beauty we got there. But if we think there's going to be a problem, Johnny, can I say we will move? I don't think you're going to have this problem, but we're going to move the event to some place where it's going to be appreciated and safe.
Yeah, well, I think safety and security is the #1 priority for a successful World Cup. We can see today that people have trust in the United States when we see at the ticket sales. We sold, record-breaking figures of tickets, almost 2 million already sold out of 2 million that we've been selling. This is because people, they know that they will be coming here and they will experience a safe and secure World Cup. This is the responsibility, of course, of the government, of Secretary Noam, of everyone, and obviously we will. We will discuss. We are working together. We have a task force for this, and we must ensure that all fans coming from abroad or being here, they can experience a celebration of coming together of the sport. And this goes only with 100% safety.
We are communicating with all these mayors about what their responsibilities are. They know the safety and security of these events is their #1 responsibility, and we'll be there. The president's always there to keep Americans safe, but he also makes sure the people that know their responsibilities and that they're prepared to host these events and do so in a safe manner.
Is there a timeline that would have an exit?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There was some news this morning from an Axios report that Senator Ted Cruz was laying the groundwork for a potential 2028 presidential run. Could I get your reaction to, could you see yourself supporting Senator?
Well, he's a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to him about it. It's a little early. It's 3.25 years. It's a long time. But he's a very good guy. He's a very good friend of mine. You remember we had quite a campaign against Ted, and it worked out quite nicely. Let's see, where are we? Oh, we're in the old one. But I'm not that surprised to hear that.
Mr. President, on the tariff exemptions, you had some recently on a variety of different goods. I'm wondering, are you ruling out going forward no more exemptions on products? You're mentioning a disagreement you had earlier.
We've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars in tariff money. We're going to be issuing dividends later on, somewhere prior to, probably in the middle of next year, a little bit later than that, of thousands of dollars for individuals of moderate income, middle income. We're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money from tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, this nation would be in serious trouble. And we've taken in tremendous amounts of money. And you know what's more important than that? We've protected our businesses from being raided like we did with the chip business. Now we're bringing them all back. But we had 100% of the chip industry. And then they left. They went mostly to Taiwan and South Korea, but mostly Taiwan. And they have almost 100%. And we're going to have, within a short period of time, a big percentage of the chip business are coming back because of tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs, because the tariffs will be very steep if they don't come back, and they've committed to come back. As you probably heard, Apple is now up to $700 billion. We have NVIDIA at $600 billion. We have tremendous amounts of money pouring in. Our country has become amazing again and really, really rich again. I will say this. We have a decision we're waiting for. It's a very big decision. The numbers that we've taken in, if you talk about investments, is trillions, not with a B, not with an M, millions, but trillions of dollars. I can't imagine having to give that money back on something that we're allowed to do. And the ones that are fighting us are countries, largely. They're back in countries that have been ripping us off for years, using tariffs to rip us off. And now we're able to defend ourselves. It really is a matter of national security, because economic security is national security. So I think you're going to see another thing happening. I think you'll see food prices. They've come down very substantially since Biden. But I think you're going to see food prices coming down very substantially.
Saudi Arabia, tomorrow you're hosting
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. Are you planning to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
And also, are you looking at doing a similar security agreement like you did with her?
Yeah, no, I am planning on doing that. Yeah.
You're gonna
They
sell
want to buy.
F-35s?
They've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that. We'll be selling F-35s. Yeah.
Mr. President, to clarify something that you posted on Truth Social last night, you urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. We've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. With Kennedy, we gave everything, and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything, and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages. 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. They cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time. Yeah.
Mr. President, on affordability,
the shutdown is now over, and administration officials had said when the shutdown ends, they'll reevaluate the farmer relief. Now we have the deal with China. So is the administration still looking to dish out farmer relief now that the government is back?
Yeah, we want to. I'm always going to help our farmers.
So are you still looking to do
I would
relief?
do that. Yeah, if they need relief, we'll be there for them. We're going to always be for our farmers.
So what are you waiting
Yeah,
for?
please, in the back.
Mr. President, just speaking of the economic impacts of FIFA and possibly moving to another city, some games, if you feel it's crime, is there like a timeline that you would do that? Because these cities, there's sponsorships, there's economic impacts for these communities.
Sure.
Is there
Well, the governors are going to have to behave. The mayors are going to have to behave. In the case of California, you have a problem. you have high crime, and you have a place that just suffered great fires and everything else, and they didn't do a very good job. And if we didn't go in from the crime standpoint, you would have had a disaster. It was not going to be handled properly. It wasn't able to be. The head of the police said as I said, without the federal government, they could not have done it. So here's the story. I love Los Angeles. If they want help during this, I would love to send in National Guard or whoever's necessary to help them. I want it to be great. I'd love it to be in Los Angeles. I love the place. It's a natural for Los Angeles. If we think there's going to be crime, if we are obstructed by the governor, and maybe he won't obstruct, maybe it'll be great. But I'd love him for him to call and say, we'd like to have some extra help. Because if there's even a hint of a problem, we want to get in there before the problem occurs. We want to make it totally safe for Johnny and FIFA and all of the great people that are going to be there. And I think that's going to happen. I would be honored to help California if they're going to have a problem. And if they think they're going to have a problem, they should say so. We can be in there in 24 hours notice and do a great job.
But does that mean by the year, by the end of the year, by the end of the first quarter?
Well, I think if they would tell us now, they're not going to have a problem. Because if we go in, they don't have a problem. Look at D.C. There's no crime in D.C. anymore. And D.C. was a mess. If they want us to go in, I'd like them to tell us right now. But if we go in, there will be no problem. There will be no crime.
What's the message then to local businesses who are considering sponsoring the
Tell the governor to ask for federal help. We'd love to help them.
Mr. President, are you planning on also potentially launching strikes in Mexico or putting American troops or American personnel into Mexico to deal with it?
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is... Look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? There's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Tons and tons of
you would say
drugs.
that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Would I do that on the land corridors? I would absolutely. Look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children, they never recover really from it. When you lose somebody, like the way they live, if you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something?
So when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now, do I feel the same way about the corridors that they use? We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here, fentanyl, cocaine. Colombia has cocaine factories where they make cocaine. Would I knock out those factories? I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing it.
Would you only do it with Mexico's permission, though?
I wouldn't answer that question. I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. We're losing hundreds of thousands of people to drugs. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. They're killing our people. That's like a war. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree, unless they're crazy. And they are a little crazy on the Democrat side. But we have lost hundreds of thousands of people a year, death. And that's not talking about family destruction, that's talking about death. And much of it comes through Mexico. So let me just put it this way. I am not happy with Mexico, okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Who are you yelling at? Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
I'll tell you maybe next week.
And President Trump taking questions after meeting with the task force on the 2026 FIFA World Cup, including great folks like Andrew Giuliani to Representative Darren LaHood, amongst others. Looking forward to a star-studded event. And then President Trump, being the most transparent president in modern American history, taking on those questions from the White House press pool. Let not your heart be troubled. Roughly 1 hour from now, Matthew Alvarez will be with you for another broadcast on this evening, RSBN in the prime time. So stay tuned for that at 4:30 tonight for a 6 o'clock event. Thank you to Monetary Gold for wealth and savings preservation as well. Call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide. Look at your options via RSBN4thegold.com. An important thing to do to diversify your savings, whether it's wealth management to property assets or simply creating that generational wealth. Paper money just doesn't cut it. And we know that the worth or value of the dollar going down 40% over the course of the last year. So gold and silver only going up in a bull market, something smart to look into today. And you might be not wanting to because of those pesky IRA fees. Call today and ask how you can eliminate those permanently for life. Again, 888-617-7994. With two banks failing this year alone and the central banks around the world buying up gold and silver on top of those BRICS nations that are looking to divest from the American dollar, it's worth looking into Monetary Gold, the best in the business, at RSBN4thegold.com. You can take some of those assets and trade and bet on the big questions happening in American life. Who will President Trump pardon this year? Changpeng Zhao, Roger Ver, Steve Bannon, maybe all three of them. Will Bitcoin hit 150,000 before March of 2026? Scan the QR code right now and have those questions solved and answered, all while you are making a little bit of dough on the side. It's Kalshi.com/RSBN, leading to the best trades here in the United States of America. And some breaking news across the channels. FEMA's head has resigned. Acting Administrator David Richardson resigned from the role on Monday. This being today, according to reports, the administration has not announced who will take over. For all America First updates and exclusive offers at Right Side Broadcasting Network, visit rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. There you can find the written word and an in-depth analysis with our great writers on a whole host of topics focused on the federal city inside and outside of the Beltway. Again, 1 hour from now, join us for a 6 o'clock event where President Trump delivering remarks at McDonald's Impact Summit in Washington, D.C. Mr. Matthew Alvarez will be on the desk beginning at 4:30 Eastern. For all of my colleagues here on the right side of history, I'm Robert McNeely. Have a wonderful afternoon. I hope the sun is shining just like it is right now in Washington, D.C. It sure is here in Auburn, Alabama. May God be with you, and we'll see you very soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.